5:19 local time, somewhere over the Caribbean Sea. A small surface contact appears at the far edge of the radar display. Low profile, no AIS, no broadcast ID, no flag visible through the optics. Just a thin return moving faster than it should in this part of the water. The watch officer leans closer. Every radar sweep updates the range. The contact is holding a steady north-northwest course, and its speed is climbing past 20 knots. That alone is enough to raise interest. In this corridor, regular traffic does not sprint. It moves with purpose, but it does not race. The radar technician calls it out. Single small surface contact, low displacement, bearing steady. The plotter marks it. The time to closest point of approach is growing, not shrinking. That tells the crew something important. This vessel is not drifting toward traffic by accident. It is choosing open water. On the bridge, the officer of the deck shows no reaction. He does not need to. The ship's posture remains calm, but the information flow tightens instantly. From this moment on, every update matters. Electro-optical cameras lock onto the contact. The image takes shape slowly through the morning haze. A narrow hull, low freeboard, weathered paint. No visible fishing gear. No wake pattern that matches trolling. It looks civilian, but it is not acting like a normal civilian boat. Radio calls go out on international safety and breach-to-breach frequencies. Clear, professional, repeated. No answer. The silence is entered into the log inside the Combat Information Center. Analysts begin building the profile. Under 40 feet long, twin outboard engines. Enough fuel to sustain high speed, but not enough for long-distance travel. The wake is narrow, clean and controlled. This is not a weekend boat. It is not lost, and it is not behaving casually. The contact accelerates again. 25 knots. Now the bow lifts slightly under power. That is the detail everyone notices. The hull is carrying weight. The track supervisor says it plainly. Heavy load, small boat, high speed. No response. No one challenges the assessment. This stretch of water has a reputation. Sailors have a word for it. A funnel. Routes from the south tighten here before opening again farther north. For anyone trying to move hidden cargo, this is the place where speed becomes the plan. Push hard, stay quiet, hope nobody is watching. But someone is watching. The destroyer holds course. No dramatic turn, no sudden surge. The goal is not pursued yet. The goal is confirmation. Another radio call goes out. Still nothing. Then the contact shifts course, just slightly. 5 degrees to port. Not a panic move, not a hard turn. More like a test. A small adjustment to see if anyone is tracking it closely. They are. The captain steps onto the bridge wing with binoculars already raised. He does not ask for a full explanation. He does not need one. The right people already have the right information. "Log the maneuver," he says. Calm, even, controlled. Below deck, the Combat Information Center updates the track solution. The boat's route is not random. It is threading between known shipping lanes and avoiding predictable patrol patterns. Whoever is at the wheel knows these waters. That knowledge will not help much now. The watch officer orders the aviation detachment to stand by. No launch yet, just readiness. The message is quiet, but everyone understands it. This contact matters. The surface picture updates again. Speed now 28 knots. That crosses the line. The officer of the deck gives a single nod. The contact is classified as a runner. The word goes into the log. Runner does not mean the vessel is dangerous. It does not mean the crew has been judged. It means intent. It means the boat has chosen distance as its best defense. On the camera feed, the deck becomes clearer. 3 figures are visible. No life jackets, no nets, no coolers. Just people bracing themselves against the motion while the engines push hard behind them. The destroyer still does not chase. Not yet. Instead, it measures everything. Wind, sea state, relative motion, time, distance. All the variables that will matter if this situation develops further. The ocean around them remains calm. No alarms, no shouting. Just the steady rhythm of a ship doing exactly what it was built to do. Detect, track, decide. The small boat keeps running. It does not know how much space it has left. It does not know how much of its story has already been written by radar returns, wake signatures, and a silence louder than any radio reply. Up on the bridge, the captain lowers his binoculars. "Keep eyes on," he says. "This one is not stopping on its own." The destroyer increases speed only slightly. Out ahead, the small boat pounds across open water, engines wide open, fully committed to a choice it cannot take back. The chase has not truly begun yet, but the window to disappear is already closing. 0 bars. The distance between the destroyer and the runner stretches, then steadies. On paper, the smaller boat should have the advantage. It is lighter, it is faster in a straight line. It appears built around one purpose: move cargo quickly and vanish before anyone can react. But that assumption is already old. On the bridge, the officer of the deck orders a measured increase in speed. Not a sprint, not a dramatic chase, just enough to keep the geometry clean and every option open. The destroyer does not need to close the gap immediately. It only needs to control it. Inside the Combat Information Center, the picture grows sharper with every radar sweep. The runner is not heading for a port. It is not angling toward cover. It is pushing farther into open water, betting that speed and distance will solve the problem. That is the mistake. The aviation detachment begins to spin up. The blades are not turning yet, but the crews are already moving with purpose. Helmets go on. Checklists come out. The helicopter is not being treated as a show of force. It is a tool, and right now, that tool is being placed exactly where it needs to be. Electro-optical sensors remain fixed on the contact. The camera feed steadies as the range closes just enough to reveal more detail. The hull is riding low. The engines are working hard. The wake tells the story better than words could. Long, narrow, controlled. This is not a panicked driver making random choices. This is practiced movement. The track supervisor gives another update. Runner maintaining high speed, course steady. The destroyer answers without saying anything at all. Data keeps moving. Calculations tighten. Time, distance, fuel and motion are all measured on both sides of the problem. Whether the runner understands it or not, small boats operate on narrow margins. Fuel capacity, engine temperature, sea conditions. Every minute at full throttle puts pressure on all three. The destroyer does not live under the same limits. Another radio call goes out. Clear, professional and recorded. Still no answer. The captain watches the surface picture from the bridge repeater. He has seen this kind of profile before. Different hull, different people. Same idea. Run hard now. Hope the larger ship hesitates. Trust that the ocean is wide enough to disappear into. It is not. At 5:34, the aviation officer reports ready. The captain gives a single nod. Launch! The helicopter lifts cleanly from the deck and rises into the morning light. It does not rush straight toward the boat. Instead, it arcs wide, climbing to an altitude that gives it reach without creating confusion. The message is not pressure, it is awareness. From above, the entire picture changes. The runner's path is clear now, drawn across the water in white spray and exhaust haze. The helicopter's sensors capture the scene in detail. Engine heat glowing bright, hull shaking under load, crew movements sharp and focused. The pilot keeps distance, safe, legal, clear. A radio call from the air repeats the hail. Calm voice, standard wording, no emotion, no raised tone. No reply. The runner does not change course, but the wake tightens. The bow lifts again. The engines are being pushed harder than they were meant to be pushed. Down in the Combat Information Center, the analysts see it right away. Fuel burn is rising. Heat is building. The thermal feed shows the strain clearly. This cannot last forever. The destroyer adjusts once more, matching the geometry instead of matching the speed. It stays exactly where it needs to be, close enough to control the situation, far enough to keep it measured. This is not a race, it is a squeeze. At 5:41, the runner makes its first serious move. A sharp turn to starboard, not random. A classic attempt to force a recalculation, break the tracking picture, and create a few seconds of uncertainty. It does not work. The helicopter slides laterally, holding the same relative position. The destroyer remains steady. Inside CIC, the track updates without pause. The runner straightens out and accelerates again. 30 knots now, maybe more. The bridge stays quiet. The captain does not raise his voice. He does not need to. The systems are doing exactly what they were built to do. Layer information, remove guesswork, and leave the other side with fewer choices every minute. From the air, the crew count is confirmed. 3 individuals, no visible safety gear, no open deck equipment, nothing exposed. Whatever matters is hidden below the surface of the boat. That detail speaks for itself. The aviation officer relays the assessment. Boat is heavy, not configured for fishing, no response to calls. The captain answers with one word: copy. Minutes pass. The sea remains calm. The runner keeps pushing forward. But now the signs are impossible to miss for anyone who knows how to read them. The engines no longer sound as clean. The turns are not as sharp. The margin is shrinking. Speed alone is no longer protecting them. Ahead, the ocean looks wide and empty. To the crew on the small boat, it may still feel like open space. From the destroyer's bridge and the helicopter above, it looks different. It looks like a corridor, and the walls are slowly moving inward. This is no longer about catching up. It is about waiting for fuel, weight, and physics to do what they always do. 5:49 local time. The runner's speed drops by 2 knots. It is subtle, almost impossible to notice with the naked eye, but the systems catch it instantly. Fuel burn is catching up, engine heat is rising. The slim advantage that kept the boat ahead is starting to fade. This is the window. The helicopter descends, not aggressively, deliberately. Altitude comes down in controlled steps until it is close enough for the crew below to feel the rotor wash brushing across the surface of the water. Still no direct pass overhead. Still no unnecessary pressure. Just presence. From the cockpit, the pilot keeps the nose slightly offset from the runner's bow. Close enough to be impossible to miss. Far enough to stay within procedure. Another radio call goes out. Clear, calm, final in tone. Unidentified vessel, reduce speed immediately and prepare for inspection. The words are measured, standard, familiar in waters like these. There is no reply. Instead, the runner surges again. The engines flare. Exhaust darkens. The boat jolts under its own effort, trying to recover speed it no longer has. Inside the Combat Information Center, the assessment updates in real time. The boat is no longer moving cleanly. Each correction is wider. Each turn costs more energy. The systems do not guess, they observe. On the bridge, the captain watches the helicopter feed on the repeater. He does not look impressed. He looks patient. Proceed with visual warning, he says. The helicopter slides slightly forward, matching the runner's course. The crew chief activates the visual marker. It is not a weapon, it is a signal. Clear, direct, and impossible to ignore. A sharp green point appears on the runner's deck. Steady, deliberate. It traces once across the bow, then settles near the cabin. This is the moment the crew below understands, even if no one says it out loud. They are seen. Not generally, not approximately, precisely. Still, the runner does not stop. The helm jerks again, another attempt to break the pattern, another push for distance. But the wake spreads wide as the hull fights the turn, and the boat loses more control than it gains. Below deck on the destroyer, no one rushes. There are no raised voices, no dramatic alarms. Only the quiet shift of a crew moving through procedure exactly as written. On the forward deck, the mount rotates only a few degrees, not into an aggressive posture, just enough to be noticed. A message without a single word attached. The helicopter holds position. The green marker stays steady. The radio call repeats, first in English, then in Spanish. Still silence. At 5:57, the runner's speed drops again. This time, it does not recover. 23 knots, then 21. The engines are losing the argument. From above, the helicopter crew sees the change clearly. One of the men on deck looks back, not toward the destroyer, but toward the helicopter. The glance lasts just a little longer than before. That too is locked. The runner tries one last move. It cuts power suddenly, then surges again, hoping to disrupt the timing and create an opening. But the move is sloppy. It costs more speed than it creates. The destroyer closes the distance slightly. Still controlled, still measured. Not to create fear, but to remove uncertainty. Inside CIC, the track supervisor calls it out. Runner decelerating, no effective maneuvering. The captain nods once. This is it, he says, not to anyone in particular. The helicopter drops lower, now unmistakably ahead of the runner's bow. Rotor wash slaps the water. Spray lifts over the small boat's deck. The green marker flicks once more across the cabin window. The message is complete. Finally, the runner's engines begin to pull back. The bow settles. The wake shortens. This is not a dramatic surrender. It is exhaustion. At 6:01, the boat drops below 15 knots, then 12. The destroyer holds position. The helicopter remains steady overhead. No cheers, no celebration, just confirmation. The runner drifts into a slow, uneven line. It is no longer trying to escape, no longer pretending this is anything other than the end of the run. On the bridge, the captain gives the next order. Prepare the boarding team. The last exit, the one built only on speed and distance, is gone. The chase does not end with an impact. It does not end with a dramatic final moment. It ends the way most of these situations do, with physics, pressure, and the decision made too late to matter. 6:08 local time. The sea is calm again. The runner sits low in the water, engines idling unevenly, no longer pointed anywhere with purpose. From a distance, it almost looks harmless. Up close, it tells a very different story. On the destroyer's starboard side, the rigid hull inflatable boat is lowered with practiced precision. No wasted motion, no raised voices. The boarding team moves as one. Helmets set, gloves on, radios checked. Standard gear is present, but nothing about it is theatrical. This is not about making a scene. It is about control. The RHIB accelerates cleanly, skimming across the last pieces of broken wake. Above, the helicopter holds its offset orbit, steady and watchful. Cameras rolling, every second time-stamped. Nothing here is informal. Nothing is left to memory. As the RHIB closes in, the three men aboard the runner go still. Hands visible, movements slow. Their expressions are not defiant now. They are calculating, and calculation is slowly giving way to inevitability. The coxswain brings the RHIB alongside. Lines are passed. A hand catches the rail. The first sailor steps onto the deck. Coast Guard, United States Navy, remain where you are. The words are steady, neutral, controlled. The men comply. They are separated immediately and placed where they can be seen clearly. No sudden movement, no resistance. Their eyes follow the sailors for a moment, then drop toward the deck. They know the routine. That detail says enough. The boarding officer begins the sweep forward, then aft. He does not rush. He does not assume. He checks. The deck is bare. No fishing gear, no coolers. No personal items beyond the absolute minimum. The hatches are sealed with fresh hardware, their edges taped tight. That is the next sign. The officer kneels and taps one of the hatches. Solid. He looks up once, meets another sailor's eyes, and nods. The hatch is opened. The smell comes first. Not fuel, not salt. Plastic, tape. Dry air trapped too long. Inside the hold, the packages are stacked with precision. Square bundles, uniform size, wrapped in layers. Plastic, burlap, more plastic. Triple sealed, waterproofed. Built to survive days at sea without damage. There is no doubt now. One bundle is lifted. It is heavier than it looks.
dense.
The wrapping is opened just enough to confirm what everyone already understands. Off-white bricks, pressed tight. Markings stamped into the surface. Symbols meant for people who know exactly what they represent. The count begins immediately. 1, 2, 3. The numbers keep climbing. 19 bundles in total, packed to maximize space and stability. No filler, no wasted room, no mistakes. This is not a small run. Each bundle is documented exactly where it sits. Photographed, tagged, time logged, location logged. Hands visible in every frame. The chain of custody begins here, not later. The boarding officer reports up. Calm, factual. Confirmed restricted cargo, significant quantity. Back on the destroyer, the response is brief. Copy. The estimate comes together quickly. Weight, packaging quality, route. Indicators from the field. It all adds up fast. Approximate street value, $98 million. On the runner, the three men say nothing. They do not argue. They do not deny. There is no point. The evidence fills the space beneath their feet. They are searched, secured, and seated where they can be monitored. Their faces are photographed. Their hands are checked. Every step is procedural. Nothing is personal. The helicopter tightens its orbit as the evidence is transferred one bundle at a time. Carefully, deliberately. No shortcuts, no drama. On the destroyer's deck, the packages are laid out in neat rows under the open sky, sunlight reflecting off the plastic wrap. To an untrained eye, it might look like ordinary cargo. To the sailors, it looks like impact. Each bundle represents weeks of planning, a network of handlers, paid favors, promises made to people who will never receive what they expected. One interception does not end that world, but it interrupts it. The runner is searched again from bow to stern. Compartments checked, fuel tanks inspected, hidden spaces examined. Nothing else of note is found. This crew was moving exactly what they came to move. When the sweep is complete, the boarding officer gives the signal. Mission phase complete. The three men are transferred under guard. The runner is secured for towing and seizure. Its engines are silent now. Their work is finished for good. On the bridge, the captain watches the final transfer on the repeater. His expression does not change. There is no satisfaction here, only confirmation. Another shipment stopped, another route exposed, another quiet blow delivered far from the headlines and much closer to the source. The sea remains calm, the destroyer holds station, and on the deck below, $98 million worth of restricted cargo sits motionless in the sun, going nowhere. 6:46 local time. The operation does not end when the last bundle is lifted from the runner's hold. That is only the part people can see. What comes next is quieter, slower, and just as precise. On the destroyer's deck, the seized packages are secured under watch. Each one is checked again. Weight confirmed. Markings documented. Seals inspected. Every detail matters, because this is not just an interception, it is evidence. The three men are moved below, separated and monitored. No questioning, no speeches. That is not this crew's role. Their responsibility is custody, not judgment. The ocean does not care about motives. Procedure does not either. The runner itself is prepared for tow and transfer. Lines are rigged. Hull condition is assessed. Fuel is shut down. What was once a tool built for speed now sits powerless, reduced to evidence. Above it all, the helicopter finally turns away and heads back toward the destroyer. Its job is complete. Hours of footage, sensor data, and time-stamped proof are already stored, copied, and secured. That is what matters later, long after the water closes behind the ship. From the bridge, the captain watches the surface picture settle back into routine. No new contacts, no surprises. The sea returns to looking empty. That is how missions like this usually end. To the crew, this was not an extraordinary day. It followed a pattern refined over years. Detect early, classify correctly, apply pressure without panic. Let systems, patience, and physics do what speed alone cannot. Running failed here for the same reason it fails so often. Speed is temporary, systems are not. The men on the runner believed that if they could break contact, distance would protect them. They believed the ocean was wide enough to erase their trail. What they underestimated was how little of the ocean is truly unseen. Radar does not get tired. Cameras do not blink. Aircraft do not need to catch you to control the situation. They only need to stay where you cannot ignore them. By the time the runner understood that, the outcome had already narrowed. Every attempt to go faster burned fuel they could not replace. Every turn cost momentum they could not recover. Every minute of silence made the path ahead smaller. From start to finish, no direct force was needed. That was not luck. That was design. On paper, the value of the interdiction will be measured in dollars. 98 million that will not reach its destination. 98 million that will not fund the next route, the next crew, or the next boat. But the real cost lands somewhere else. Routes get questioned, schedules break, trust erodes. Someone far from the water now has to explain why a shipment disappeared into open sea and never came back. Those conversations do not happen on deck. They happen far away from the ship. As the destroyer resumes patrol, the crew returns to routine. Watches rotate, helm reliefs change out. Maintenance checks continue. The ship does not slow down for a victory lap. There is no victory lap. This is what maritime interdiction really looks like. No dramatic ending, no flashing lights. Just layered awareness, discipline, and patience, applied until there is nowhere left to run. Out on the horizon, the ocean hides nothing for long. The wake from the operation fades, replaced by calm water and sunlight. The runner will never make another sprint. The cargo will never reach its destination. And the men who thought speed could buy them freedom will learn just how narrow that margin really was. Somewhere else, another boat may already be loading. Another crew may be telling itself the same story, that if they move fast enough, they will be gone before anyone notices. They are wrong. Because out here, it is not about who runs the hardest. It is about who is already watching.